Finally getting audited, my sister Jessica announced triumphantly in the family group chat. The message included a screenshot of an official IRS confirmation letter. Reported your fake charity months ago. Maybe now everyone will see what a scam you've been running. My father responded with a string of applause emojis, and my mother added a prayer hands icon, as if reporting your own sister for fraud was some sort of moral victory. I muted the chat. I didn't defend myself. Not then. 3 weeks later, an IRS agent arrived at my office. He froze mid-introduction, credentials suspended in the air, his eyes locked on the wall behind my desk. It was a gallery of photographs, faces of every veteran our organization, Second Chances Veterans Housing, had helped over the past 8 years. "Ma'am," he said, voice trembling, I'm in that picture. Second row, third from the left. November 2019. I looked closer. Younger, thinner, eyes hollowed by loss, but unmistakably him, David Reyes. My heart skipped. "You remember my name?" he asked, disbelief in his tone. His professional composure dissolved. "You gave me a home when I had nothing. Your organization. It's why I'm here today. Why I'm alive. Who reported you for fraud? I need to know how this investigation got assigned to me. Second Chances had been my life's work for 8 years. I'd started it after a night I can't forget, watching a homeless veteran die on a Seattle street corner. Marcus Washington, 2 tours in Afghanistan, a Bronze Star, homeless for 2 years. He died alone under the rain-soaked bridge while the systems meant to help him failed entirely. At the time, I was a corporate attorney making $280,000 annually. I'd passed him daily, sometimes giving money or food, but never stopping long enough to connect. When he died, something inside me shattered. 3 months later, I quit. My savings rented a small apartment building. One by one, I began housing veterans who'd fallen through the cracks. 8 years later, Second Chances had provided homes to over 1,400 veterans. From one building, we expanded to 12 properties, helping veterans access VA benefits, employment programs, mental health support, and the basic dignity of having a door to lock behind them. My family never understood. At first, they called it a phase, then a waste. Now, apparently, fraud. Jessica had always been the golden child. Medical school, a prestigious residency, a thriving practice, a wealthy husband, beautiful children. She followed the path our parents approved of and excelled. I chose differently. Law school pleased them, but the path I followed, leaving a lucrative career to house homeless veterans, did not. "You could be making millions," my father had said once. "Instead, you're living in a rental apartment running a charity. You're wasting your potential helping people who couldn't help themselves." I had defended my choices silently. "I'm housing veterans who served this country," I had replied. "The least we can do is give them a roof." The family disapproval only grew. Every media mention of Second Chances was met with silence or criticism. Every award was ignored, reframed as proof of my stubbornness or self-righteousness. Jessica's fraud report was the culmination of years of unspoken resentment. David Reyes sat in my office, his folder closed on his lap. "I need to recuse myself from this case. The conflict of interest is obvious," he said. "Before you do," I asked, "can you tell me what the complaint alleged?" He hesitated, then opened the folder. The complaint alleges that Second Chances Veterans Housing is operating as a personal enrichment scheme under the guise of charitable work. It claims you're diverting funds for personal use, inflating program costs, and providing substandard housing while collecting premium donations. I laughed bitterly. "Personal enrichment? I make $52,000 a year. I drive a 2016 Honda. I live in a 1-bedroom apartment." David looked at the wall again. I showed him our books, meticulously documented. Every donation accounted for, every expense categorized, every program cost verified by annual independent audits. 8 years of audits, all clean. Our 92% program efficiency ratio meant 92 cents of every donated dollar went directly to veterans' housing and services, well above the industry standard of 75%. "I know," I said. "I designed it that way. Our staff works for less than they could earn elsewhere because they believe in the mission. Every veteran we help has a name, a story, a life that matters." David's voice trembled as he recounted his own story. Sleeping in his car, Out of gas, out of money, out of hope. He had called our crisis line at 2 a.m. Elena, our crisis coordinator, answered and treated him like a human, not a case number. By morning, he had keys to an apartment, a meal, and a sense of hope. Our organization saved his life. And yet Jessica had reported me for fraud. David recused himself. A different agent, Patricia Holloway, took over. She had no prior connection to the organization and conducted a rigorous independent review: financial records, staff and participant interviews, property inspections. 6 weeks later, the verdict was definitive. No evidence of fraud, misappropriation, or wrongdoing, Agent Holloway confirmed. This is one of the cleanest nonprofit operations I've reviewed. Your financial controls are excellent. Your program outcomes are exceptional. The complaint appears baseless. Before I could process relief, a text arrived from Jessica. So you passed. Probably cooked the books before they arrived. Doesn't change what we know about you. I stared at the screen. My sister had tried to destroy everything I'd built. My career, the organization, the lives of over 1,400 veterans. Without evidence, without conversation, without understanding. She still believed she was right. The confrontation would come later, at my mother's birthday dinner. I hadn't intended to attend, but my mother begged me once. Jessica was there, as always poised and perfect, and my father held court at the head of the table. Everything seemed normal, until dessert. You passed your audit, Jessica said sweetly. Must have hired good accountants. The audit found no wrongdoing because there was no wrongdoing. But we both know the truth. I set down my fork. What truth? You think you know that this charity is just a way to feel superior, to be a martyr. That you abandoned a lucrative career to play savior. I abandoned a career that paid well but meant nothing, I replied. I chose work that saves lives. That gives purpose. That matters. Jessica laughed, dismissive. You give homeless people apartments. That's not saving lives. That's enabling dependency. I took a breath, eyes steady. David Reyes, the IRS agent who came to investigate your report. He was a program participant, sleeping in his car. Now he's a federal agent, a homeowner, a husband, a father. That's what real help looks like. The table fell silent. My mother shifted uncomfortably, unable to respond. The silence at the table was heavy, almost tangible. Jessica's smug expression remained, unshaken. My mother fidgeted, clearly uncomfortable with the tension she had invited by wanting the family together. I could see the wheels turning in Jessica's mind, the justification she had rehearsed for 8 years finally encountering the undeniable truth of my work. You filed the report because you wanted to hurt me, I said calmly, looking directly at her. Because my choices embarrass you. You've spent 30 years competing with me, and you see a stand I found meaningful, something you'll never understand. And instead of trying to comprehend it, you attacked it. Jessica's lips thinned. You've always thought you were better than everyone, she said, voice sharp. This charity thing is just another way to look down on people who work normal jobs and live normal lives. I don't think I'm better, I replied. I think I'm different. Those aren't the same thing. I gave up everything to help veterans. People who served this country. People with names, faces, stories. Marcus Washington, who died under a bridge despite earning a Bronze Star. David Reyes, who now investigates fraud for the federal government. They're not strangers. They're the people my life touches. That's why I do this work. Jessica's eyes narrowed. And yet, you want to argue that because of a few anecdotes, you're immune from scrutiny, that your choices justify everything. People need rules, standards, accountability. You've built a fantasy and expect us to bow to it. I took a deep breath. Accountability? Every donation tracked. Every expense documented. Independent audits every year. Clean reports for 8 years. 92% of every dollar goes directly to veteran services. That is accountability. The room went quiet again. Even my father, usually quick to speak, looked uncertain. The truth was undeniable. The evidence wasn't just numbers on a page. It was faces on the wall, stories embedded in every photograph. Veterans who had slept on streets, in cars, or in shelters were now homeowners, employed, thriving. Jessica scoffed. And yet, you're still living in that tiny apartment, Still driving that old car, still making peanuts. If this is so noble, why isn't it sustainable? I smiled faintly, knowing she'd never see it. Because it isn't about me, it's about them. Every penny I don't spend on myself is a dollar spent giving someone a future. That's sustainability measured in human lives, not bank accounts. The conversation had started as an argument. Now it was exposure. Every claim, every justification Jessica had used to validate her jealousy, now crumbled under reality. David Reyes had recused himself from the investigation, but his story remained. He had once been a desperate veteran, now a federal agent. The very person Jessica had tried to weaponize against me was proof of the organization's impact. After the audit cleared, Agent Patricia Holloway had conducted a thorough review. She interviewed staff, residents, and donors. She examined every financial record and visited every property. Her conclusion was emphatic: no wrongdoing. This is one of the most transparent and well-managed nonprofits I have ever investigated, she told me. The complaint seems entirely malicious and baseless. Your organization exemplifies proper financial management and mission-driven outcomes. Jessica, of course, refused to acknowledge the findings. Her text arrived before I had a chance to speak with her. So, you passed. Probably cooked the books before they arrived. Doesn't change what we know about you. Her words were empty. The truth was documented and verified. 1,227 veterans housed, dozens of success stories, independent audits, clean finances. And yet, she persisted in her fantasy that my work was fraudulent. The investigation into Jessica's false report had broader consequences. Filing a false complaint with the IRS is a federal offense. Though prosecutors determined that proving willful malice beyond a reasonable doubt would be difficult, her complaint was formally documented, and she received a stern warning. Her professional reputation, carefully curated over decades, faced scrutiny. Colleagues cooled toward her, referrals slowed, and the image of the golden child began to crack. I took no satisfaction in this. My focus remained on the organization, the veterans, and the mission. Yet the irony wasn't lost on me. The sister who had sought to destroy my life's work had inadvertently amplified its visibility. News outlets covered the investigation, highlighting the vindication of the nonprofit and the absurdity of a family feud escalating to federal scrutiny. Donations increased dramatically, volunteers came forward in larger numbers, and new partnerships emerged. David Reyes returned to my life, not as an investigator but as a friend. He began volunteering, sharing his story with other residents, showing them what was possible beyond despair. When you're sleeping in your car, wondering if you'll ever recover, you can't imagine a normal life again, he told our participants. But it's possible. Someone believed in me. Someone gave me a chance. You'll find your way too. The organization grew stronger from scrutiny. Within a year, we expanded to 3 additional cities, housing another 600 veterans. The false complaint, meant to harm us, became a catalyst for growth and recognition. Every veteran we helped, every story we told was proof against malice. Jessica's attempt to sabotage the organization had, paradoxically, underscored its legitimacy and importance. Even within the family, the dynamics shifted slightly. My mother reached out 6 months later, seeking some form of reconciliation. Jessica was wrong to file the report, she admitted cautiously. We all know that now. I replied simply, do we? Because I haven't heard an apology. Only justifications, only minimizations, nothing that acknowledges the attempt to destroy my life's work. The truth about Jessica's motivations became clear over time. The complaint wasn't concern, it was resentment. 8 years of disapproval, jealousy, and a rigid definition of success had led her to try and invalidate everything I had built. She didn't seek justice, she sought validation for her own bitterness. I refused to engage in prolonged family drama. My energy was better spent building homes, fostering lives, and expanding opportunities for those who had been abandoned by systems that were supposed to protect them. The wall of photographs in my office grew steadily. Each face represented a life touched, a story transformed, a future reshaped. David's photograph remained prominent. Second row, third from left. Beside it was another. Him shaking my hand at a fundraising gala. The transformation complete. What began as desperation ended as achievement, a testament to the ripple effects of giving someone a chance. Jessica and I haven't spoken in 2 years. Through my mother, I occasionally hear updates. She remains successful by her own measures, protected by the family system that had always favored her definition of achievement. But no apology has come. No acknowledgement of harm. No recognition that the effort to destroy something meaningful only magnified its impact. I, on the other hand, have moved forward. Not by forgetting, but by building. Every veteran housed, every success story, every photograph on the wall is evidence that her assumptions were wrong. Marcus Washington, David Reyes, and the hundreds who followed have all been part of a narrative that continues to grow stronger despite, or perhaps because of, the challenges posed by family malice. 2 years had passed since the family confrontation. Jessica and I had not spoken. Every interaction with her was mediated through our mother, who had tried to act as a bridge between the life I had built and the family I had lost. The absence of apology from Jessica lingered, a silent weight. I chose not to carry in anger, but to use as a measure of clarity. Some people simply cannot understand certain choices, and that's not a reflection of the work itself. The organization continued to expand. Second Chances Veterans. Housing now had over 2,000 veterans represented on the wall behind my desk, each photograph a story of resilience, struggle, and eventual triumph. Every face was a reminder that the mission mattered far more than family approval. Every life we touched validated the choices I had made, the nights spent worrying, and the sacrifices I had endured. David Reyes became more than a friend. He became a mentor, a symbol of transformation. After volunteering with us for several months, he shared his story at community events and board meetings. When you're at rock bottom, sleeping in your car, or wondering if life will ever give you another chance. It's hard to imagine anything good will come, he said to our participants during a session. But someone believed in me, gave me a home, and helped me rebuild. That's what Second Chances does. That's why it works. He reminded everyone that Second Chances wasn't just about providing shelter. It was about restoring dignity, hope, and a sense of possibility. David's own journey became a case study in the organization's mission, illustrating the real impact of compassion paired with structure and accountability. Meanwhile, the family fallout slowly receded into the background. My mother occasionally mentioned Jessica, usually to report on her life updates. Her medical practice had recovered, and her professional reputation remained intact, though the false IRS report had left a subtle crack in the facade of perfection she had maintained. Colleagues knew, and even if the wider world didn't, the ripple effect of her actions was visible to those paying attention. But I had no desire for revenge. My satisfaction wasn't derived from her missteps or the legal documentation of her false report. My satisfaction was found in every veteran who walked through our doors with a story like David's, who emerged with a future they once thought impossible. I had built a legacy not in spite of adversity, but through it. The wall of photographs told stories that numbers could not capture. There was Marcus Washington, whose picture now hung above my desk, a reminder that the death of one life could catalyze the saving of thousands. The Marine who had become a teacher, the Army medic who opened a clinic, the Navy veteran who reconciled with estranged children. Each photograph was a testament to the fact that the investment in human potential, given the right opportunity and support, yields results far beyond expectation. Even the volunteers and staff who had been with Second Chances from the beginning noted a shift after the audit ordeal. Morale improved, commitment deepened. The publicity surrounding the investigation had unexpectedly expanded our reach, drawing attention from donors, corporations, and other nonprofits seeking partnership. People were inspired not by the threat of fraud, but by the vindication of a mission-driven organization proving its worth under scrutiny. Yet the shadow of family betrayal lingered in subtle ways. Invitations to gatherings were scarce. Jessica's children remained largely unfamiliar with the work I had done, and the conversations around family successes avoided mention of Second Chances. My presence in family events was tolerated, not celebrated, a constant reminder that while the organization thrived, my familial relationships had fractured. I had learned to separate the personal from the professional. The choices I had made, once criticized as reckless or foolish, were now validated through impact. The IRS investigation, meant to be a threat, had become a testament to transparency and ethical operations. The system that Jessica tried to weaponize against me had inadvertently highlighted the effectiveness, efficiency, and integrity of the work. I often reflected on the irony. The very act intended to destroy had amplified the mission. The media coverage, the stories shared by veterans, the involvement of David Reyes, all emerged from the crucible of scrutiny. Jessica's malice had become a sort of accidental marketing, demonstrating to the world the tangible results of dedication and accountability. Despite the personal cost, there was clarity in the choices I had made. Every day as I walked through properties, met with veterans, and reviewed progress reports, I was reminded why the work mattered. Every conversation, every smile, every small success reinforced the value of building something that transcended personal grievances. Occasionally, I received updates about Jessica indirectly. Her career remained strong, but her motivations remained opaque. She moved through life as if the false report had never happened, untouched by the consequences, yet unable to erase the fact that her attempt had failed publicly and professionally. I had no desire to correct her worldview or demand acknowledgement. The work spoke for itself. In the quiet moments, I often thought of Marcus Washington and David Reyes, of every veteran whose life had been transformed by second chances. The faces on the wall were a constant reminder that true success isn't defined by accolades, bank balances, or family approval. It is measured by impact, by lives changed, by hope restored. David's photograph remained prominent. Beside it was another showing him at a fundraising event, a federal agent who had once been homeless and desperate, now contributing to the community and volunteering his time to inspire others. Every photograph reinforced the organization's purpose, to give people a chance, and in doing so, create a ripple effect that no single act of malice could destroy. Jessica's absence in my life had become a part of the narrative, but not the defining element. I had learned to focus on growth, not grudges, on impact, not indignation. The story of second chances had become bigger than family disputes, bigger than false accusations, and bigger than the fleeting judgments of those unwilling to understand. I often remind myself and our staff that the work matters because it transforms real lives. Not just numbers, not just audits, not just photographs, but human beings. Veterans who had been abandoned by systems and families alike now had stability, purpose, and dignity. And that ultimately was the measure of success. The legacy of Second Chances Veterans Housing had become a living testament. The organization continued to grow, housing more veterans, providing more opportunities, and building futures. Every new face added to the wall was a reminder that resilience, compassion, and perseverance could overcome obstacles, misunderstandings, and even betrayal. Jessica had tried to destroy something meaningful, but in doing so, she unintentionally highlighted its value. Her false report became an unwitting acknowledgement of the organization's reach and integrity. The work continued, undeterred, because its foundation was far deeper than family approval. And so the wall of photographs grew. Over 2,000 faces now looked down from the walls of my office. Each one a story, each one proof that even in the face of betrayal, the right choices, grounded in care and commitment, could create lasting change. The organization thrived, the veterans thrived, and through it all, I thrived. Not through revenge, not through recognition, but through the unassailable knowledge that what we built was real, meaningful, and enduring. Second Chances Veterans Housing stood as a testament to resilience, compassion, and the transformative power of opportunity. And in the end, that was more than enough.